Hey guys, talking with Cyclone FPV and getting ready to work on a, I got a Vista in here. It needs an antenna, a UFL fix, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. And I'm going to make some comments today about this repair because I kind of got an earful from a customer. And, you know, I get it, except that I don't think, you know, I think we probably just clear up the air here on this. So doing a Vista repair, first let me make this clear. $35 is not, what's the word to say, like, I do it at that price just because I can't justify charging more, but at the same time, it's not easy work. And so there's no benefit for me to make a false claim that I fixed something and not actually fix it, which is what I got accused of doing. And that really pissed me off because for 35 bucks, I'm not going to risk my reputation and all the hard work that I do to make $35 or to try to jip somebody. So I'm going to make it clear right now. And let me just do this. If there's something I won't do, I mean, one of the many things I won't do, one of them, I will not rip you off. I won't lie to you. I will not try to steal $35 from you and do these videos and things like that. So this kind of bothered me a little bit, and I want to make it clear that it's not an easy thing to replace these UFLs. It may look easy, but the actual size of what you're soldering is so small, and I've compared it and I've put it on video before. This is the push pin right here, right? The needle. And it's literally smaller than the tip of the needle here on this pointy part to where I have to solder to. So, hey, look, it's tough. If you want to try to do it, go ahead and do it. But whatever you do, don't get pissed off at me when you break it again and tell me I never fixed it to begin with. Don't do that, okay? Because I got better things to do. I got a bunch of customers that actually appreciate my work. And I don't need some tool for $35 thinking that I'm trying to jip it. Now, with that said, let's have some fun. So we're going to look at this one. I will put this under the microscope so I can try to show you guys a little bit more about what we're doing. I've already heated up the the soldering iron. This is already missing screws, so I'm assuming this was opened already at one point, because there should be more than 2 screws holding this top plate on. But hey, it is what it is. Let's just open it up and see what we're looking at here, okay? Now, I gotta watch this goop. Don't want any of that thermal paste to get in my way. Sorry. All right, get the magnifying glass out, or microscope out, I mean. And I'm going to put this on the computer, and then this way you guys can see what I see, okay? Oh, and excuse me, that's my son. I'd like to see how they're doing on their first day of school. My first day of school, you know how it goes. Everybody's going crazy right now. All right, anyways, let me plug this in, and then I'll share with you my computer screen and we can get started, all right? Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's what we're looking at right here. It's kind of interesting because this black glob is not normal to see on here. I assume this may be something that's not normal. Looks like somebody may have already tried to play with it or did something else, or perhaps that's crazy glue, super glue, I have no idea. I should not be on there though. But what we're talking about is, here's the issue, here's the big issue, right? The UFL comes off, and the easiest part of this entire thing is just putting these back on. The hardest part, I'm not really sure what's been done here. Maybe this is new from CADDX, I don't know. But is right under here actually. So if you watch right here, if you can see, you'll see this little trace here, right? This is your center pin. So it comes here and it goes through, and oh, we got a little bit of copper sticking right there. That's great. So I might be able to actually tag onto that copper. That's what we want because it runs. I mean, it's such a small piece. We want to be able to grab onto that. Now, I will tell you that lately, putting the UFL on, I have tried to encourage people to just solder their, like a new antenna replacement on, right? Because I can easily put the solder here and I can put it here and usually join these up nicely. And stay away from the UFL altogether. Some people like that idea, some people don't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to see, well, the problem here, okay, is that you've got to take whatever little piece you have left of this wire, this little copper strand here that lays right here, and you've got to attach it to a wire that's then going to attach to the UFL. So let me show you how that's going to work. First of all, let me go grab a UFL. I may have one in here, maybe not. I may have one over here, actually. I know I got one somewhere, nearby at least. Check. I guess I'll just go get one from the wall. All right, hold on, let me go grab it. Okay, so here's the UFL. Here's a roll of them, right? Because you get these in these rolls, like this. Right? There's this huge roll. I know you can see on the top of your screen, and it's just a bunch of them, right? Because that's how the machine puts them. That's how the machine installs them. So I'm just going to open this up. I'm going to take a couple out because I don't usually bet that the first go around on this is going to work without problems. So I'm going to take about 4 of these out just so I can keep pulling this package open. All right. Let me put this away. If I can pack it back up. Hold on. All right. UFLs are now packed up. I have these out here. So here's what they look like. I'll put them under the microscope for you. This is what the UFL and the trays look like this here, okay? And they're very tiny. Now, let me just give you a comparison. Here's the tip of a needle, right? And this is the spot that's the hardest part to do because this is your center pin, which is this wire or this little strand right here. Now, when I said it's smaller than the tip of the needle, I want you to look at comparison. Here's the tip of the needle, and there it is right there. So if you were to turn it, and this is if this is here. If this has been ripped out, there's this one little tiny pad way back here under this black crap. I don't know where this came from, but like I said, I guess it's the new method. And that tip is smaller than the top point of this needle. So let's just say that it's not as easy as people think. And if you want to start criticizing, I sure would like to see somebody else give this a shot who feels like they have the ability to criticize first. Now, that being said, we're going to move on from that topic because I don't think that Putz wants to get into it again. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to prep that out. So let's go ahead and just go over it. Put some flux, use the flux pen to get some flux over this entire area. All right, just like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if that little spot, and I'll use this little needle to point, if that is going to hold any solder at all. So I've got a super fine solder tip on my soldering iron right now. And I'm going to, there's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to try it this way first, which is with actual solder and not solder paste. Although solder paste is much easier to work with at times, especially on things like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the tip of this soldering iron and just raise this area and see if it holds. And it looks like it's going to actually hold a little bit. So I'm going to try to put just a tad bit more. And I mean just a tad. And this is not the easiest piece to solder. So I'm going to try, I think I'm going to use the needle here actually, bring this piece forward a little bit. Okay, now let me bring it back forward. Okay, and that is the amount of space we have to work with right now. That little strip, I'm trying to hold it still here so you can see it. That little strip right there with that little tiny piece of solder is what we're working with right now, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a wire. I just threw one out. You could use any extra wire actually because the strand is so small, okay? The piece that you're attaching to is so small that you could try to use something like this. So I get that on camera, you see? But if you put that in comparison to the piece you're soldering to. Where are we at? Sorry guys, it's every time I move it's like 100 times more because it's magnified. Right here. So let me focus. There you go. Okay, look at the size difference here. I mean, that's like, but because that's available, I'm going to see if I can attach this entire piece down. The problem is it's going to leave kind of like a little excess here, right? And so it's going to be quite interesting because this is so close. It's going to be very interesting to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip this wire. I'm going to strip this strand, so I've got about that much showing, and I'm going to twist it as tight as I can. All right, and then what I'm going to do here, just like that. Whoops! I'm going to put the flux on this as well. I'll show you. It'll be right back on your screen. Just a second. Okay, so I'm going to put the flux on this as well because I want to get the whole strand. I want to get it all soldered. I want it to be one big soldered piece. So let me see if I can do that while you guys watch to see the end result. Now, I don't know. It may move out of the way, so if it does, I apologize. But here's what I'm looking for. Just like that. Okay. Now what I've got is I've got basically a bunch of strands soldered together to make one big strand, right? Okay. Now, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get this strand to stick to that piece. That is going to be the hardest part of this entire process. All right. How to do that? Well, we're going to hopefully get this piece of wire, and I'm going to try to angle this actually. So let me show you. And it's most likely the first go around probably won't take, but it doesn't hurt to have big hopes on this. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this strand. I need to find tweezers that can hold this super tight though. Let me try these ceramic tweezers. There we go. And I'm going to try to lay this right across it and solder it to the area that held the solder prior. Not sure that's going to take. So let me see what else I can do because it doesn't look like it wants to take to that. So okay, now this time it took. Okay, now look at what we're working with right here. But if I move it too much, it's going to snap, right? So it's got a good hold right now. So I'm going to try to secure that. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this down. Try to make sure it doesn't move. All right. Now, one new thing that I'm going to try to do here, this is going to be kind of interesting. So here is, I'm going to take one of these UFLs out. So just hang tight and I'll show you what I'm doing. Now, this is the second part of this process that's a pain in the butt, but it's part of it. What makes it fun, I guess. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and nobody would have the chance to gripe for nothing. All right, let me get this UFL out. So I'm going to show you what this looks like here. So here's our UFL, and let me grab the tweezers so I can grab it for you. All right, and I'm going to put it right under the camera here. So here's the UFL. Okay, and if you look at it properly, it looks, you can see. Let me turn this upside down so you can see it. Okay, you can see, and I'm holding it upside down now, meaning even this side, right, where I'm going to put, let me get another tweezer here so I can point to what I'm talking about. This side here actually goes on the bottom. Okay, so let me move this into the picture. That would go right here. Okay, this side with this centerpiece right here, that goes on the top, and that's what actually sat in this area right here. This little piece right here, this little copper right there, is what solders to this wire that I just put in. Okay, these outside pieces will solder to right here. All right, now to do that, there's a couple ways to do this. You can use solder paste. Here's the big problem. No matter what you do, this sucker's going to start melting immediately. I mean, it's almost immediate. So you've got to prep it properly. So I'm going to leave it right there. the first thing I'm going to do, I mean, you can't really do anything without this thing trying to fly away. So I'm going to just try to hold it in place while I put some flux on there, okay? And I'm telling you, it wants to take off. I mean, just like that, you see? It'll bounce all over the place with no matter what you do. And there it goes. It starts moving all over the place. So me trying to show you this example is going to cost me some time, but at least you get an understanding of it, right? And then the best part is when you have it in tweezers and then it just flies right off the tweezer and you're like, now you can't find it. All right, so there we go. So now we've got flux on there. Now, here's the other problem. The other problem now is going to be if I get the paste, which is what I'm going to try. I'm going to try to use the paste. Here's the paste, okay? This is paste. As a matter of fact, I'll just switch cameras here real quickly. This is the paste, all right? And let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is solder paste. It's cool to use at times. It's very good if you're just applying heat, like a heat gun, you want to solder stuff. And it's really good if you're getting into small areas. Bad side is just the smallest bit too much and it can run onto everything else. So it's kind of like a good and a bad. I can't tell you how my feelings are on this one because I'm okay. I mean, like, I feel very confident in my soldering with solder, you know, like with solder strands. But when you're talking about something that's susceptible to like melting instantly or very quickly when you use the, you know, by just bringing the tip of the soldering iron, this is the next option. I just can't tell you I like it any better right now, but it's probably of the two, maybe the better option for most people. We're going to see what happens. Okay, so let's go back to our microscope. All right. So now to do solder paste, the one thing you have to remember here is solder paste is one of those that is less is better, more sucks. Okay, now I've got to find my needle. Now I've lost my needle. So, and that's how I'm going to apply this, because if I try to apply it with the syringe or anything else, it's going to put way too much. You literally need the amount it takes to put on a needle, the tip of a needle head, okay? So I don't know where my needle went, so I'm just going to grab another one. Grab another one real quickly. I'm sure at some point my hand is going to hit the other one and it's going to hurt. All right, anyways, so we're going to see. Now, I usually, out of habit, will always put too much, just because. And so I'm going to try my best to not have that happen, but no promises here. All right, so let me get some of the solder paste out. And I will try to do it on something here so that you can see. So I'm going to try to stick this double-sided tape where you can see, like right here. No, you can't see that, darn it. Right here. And I'm going to put some right, if I get it to come out. Now, the problem is it gets real finicky if it gets dry or whatever. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, it shouldn't, I mean, the fact that it's clumpy like that means I've got to get past that. So let me just squeeze some extra out. And I'll just put that on a desk somewhere. And then from there, I'll take it right. There we go. Okay, so let me show you what I'm doing here. So here's the solder paste now. This is the proper consistency. All right, I just want to get it off the needle if possible. All right, so here's the solder paste. And what we need to do now, I'm going to bring the unit back, and I'm going to try to hold this in place while I put a little bit of solder paste on the edges. And you need it to stick. And I'm not getting very lucky with that right now, but eventually my hope is that it will take. So far it's not. Let me try again. There we go. Okay. That's going to be good for getting this to solder down, and you'll see exactly how that's going to work. I just want to make sure I got enough here. And what you need to make sure you avoid is getting the solder paste near that center hole, because that's where that wire goes. So it's pretty close right there. I'm not comfortable with it being that close, so I'm gonna go get an alcohol pad now. an alcohol wipe. Give me 1 second. I'll wipe off the needle, and then I'm going to basically take the alcohol wipe, take the needle itself really, and try to move just like that. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. Now I will put flux paste on your flux on here one more time, especially in this area. Just dab it. Okay. All right. Looking at it, it looks good. I probably will go right back over it one more time right here and just make sure that nothing is in this area. Okay, I'm good with that right now. All right, here's how this works next. Next thing you do is you're going to take that and you're going to move it over just a little bit. I don't want it to stick. Get off. Okay. Okay, I need to clean the tweezers now because the UFL is sticking to the tweezers because there was some paste on there. All right, let me get this to just stop sticking, and it's just sticking to the alcohol fluid here. So let me just hold it down. There we go. All right, I'm gonna leave that right there. Now what I want to do is I want to come look at our soldering area here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take some and just put a little bit right here. Even though there's solder already on here, I need this to solder as quickly as possible. And solder paste is like instant, especially if the soldering iron touches it, and it's really quick. Let me just try to get some on here. And you don't need a ton. All right. Now it looks like it's ready to go. Now the harder part. The harder part is making sure that you can hold this in place and not melt it while you're trying to solder it, right? So I'm going to try and get my ceramic tweezers here. This is a different pair. Now, what makes these good, and I'll show you guys this as well. So here's what makes this good, right? So, and we carry these, by the way. So obviously everything, like I said, everything I use here, we carry for sale, okay? So these tweezers, instead of pressing them to close them, you have to press them to release, which is great when you're handling something that is small and you don't want it to fall or whatever, because you're not sitting there having to do two things. One, make sure it's clamped, and then the other one, make sure you move it in the right spot. So these are kind of like you just clamp it and then you don't have to worry about it. It stays clamped the whole time. That's very helpful when you're doing something like this, okay? I mean, I can't tell you if it's gonna help me here because this is a little bit of a wider tweezer tip here, but at least I know that it'll maintain the hold on the item. So here's what I've got to do. First thing I've got to do is I've got to here's our UFL, and I've got to line it up, right? And I do not want to let it land on anything it should land on, so I'm going to turn it, and our wire just came off. So I think what I'll do is that wire is getting moved around way too much, so I'm just going to have to put that back when I'm done with this portion. But now I'm going to use my needle, and I'm just going to line this up where it needs to be. Okay, there. That pretty much puts me right where I need to be. Now the really, really not fun part. I need to be able to hold this in place. Okay, let me try again. And I will tell you that half the problem is, or what makes this very difficult right now, is that I'm trying to record it. All right, so I'm going to hold that in place. Okay, it is pretty much in the right spot it needs to be. So I'm just going to put the needle, and this is going to be kind of a pain. Alright, let's try it like this. Where's that needle? Darn it, I didn't lose another one, did I? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to try with my left hand, and I'm telling you, I got a shaky left hand. This is the problem. Try to hold it like that. I'm going to bring the soldering iron here. There. Our paste just turned to solder. Now we can freely turn this around. I'm still going to hold it in place. There we go. Now look. Okay, we're soldered back on. Well, we were. Not enough though, so let me go back and just get this back down. Okay. Now I'm going to go back over it here on this side as well. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, assuming that we have a decent grip on here, which by patting this down, it's not moving, I'd say it's okay. Now we're going to reinforce it, okay? So I'm going to take some more solder paste here. And now I'm just going to reinforce the edge here. Gotta be real careful not to put too much on them. Alright, so let me just put a little bit more right there. Perfect. And then I'm going to put a little bit more right here. That's what I want, okay? Now, I'm going to clean off the tip of that needle because I don't want any solder paste going inside that center area, especially if I'm going to use this needle to hold it in place. So I'm going to put this needle right here. Clean off the soldering tip, and here we go. There we go. All right, now I'm flicking it, kind of like just going at it with my finger here to see it's on there pretty darn good. All right. The only thing left now is this wire and that connection, which is not very easy to do. So let's see. My gosh, everything's making noise, guys. I apologize. Let me just see what's going on. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is let's look at the remaining strand that we have here, okay, which is right here. This is the one we were working with initially. All right. Okay, so there it is right there. I'll focus back in on that. What we're talking about is this little piece right here. I'm going to try to scoop it up a little bit more, and this may go off camera a little bit. I apologize, but I really need to focus here. So let me just see what I can do. Okay, so before I have to take off this entire black glob of crap, I'm going to try to see if I can just attach to this. So I'm pulling it back. You can see where I'm trying to expose a little bit more of it right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try again to apply some flux to that. Okay, and basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to try to make the smallest connection from there to there, just like this. That's all I want to do. I just want to make that connection happen, okay? And then what I'd like to do is be able to come in and cut the excess wire. But I won't cut the excess wire until I get this done. So here goes. Let's see how much luck we have. First thing to do is pick which side we want to work with. Well, I want to get this part done first. So I'm going to go ahead and put some solder paste on the edge here where I know I'm going to have to solder. I do not want it to be on this outer ring though. Make sure you clear that. There it is. Okay, now here's the trick. So we've got to get that wire soldered and still leave enough wire to reach this other piece, right? So let's get some tweezers. Let's see how long we're going to need this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the strands that I soldered together. Get rid of the wire itself so we don't have this huge piece of wire that could disconnect again. So this is what we're working with now, right? And even this is too long, but if I can make this work, it might be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and try to tack this right here. Okay, that looks like it's on there. Now, it's probably not on very strong because it was just an instant little tack, but it's on, right? And then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make sure that I get it to attach to here. Problem is the wire's going to heat. Okay. And now, if we're lucky, I believe, and we might be lucky, I have to check with the needle because I don't want to put too much stress on this, right? So we are soldered here, and we are soldered here. And we'll do a continuity check now, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to touch the outside. First, let me just make sure, okay? What we're going to do here is we're going to touch this wire and the center. Excellent. You see, we touch the center. Hold on, let me see if I can get that on camera for you. So we touch the center, we touch this wire here, we touch the center. We have continuity, right? If we touch the outside, we don't. That's the good part. That means we didn't interfere with the ground. Now, if we touch the ground here, we do. But if we touch the center from the ground, we don't. So now here's a new step, all right? So this is, as far as it goes, okay, as far as it goes right now, the soldering is done and the wire is attached. But here's the deal. And this is where everybody needs to just understand a little bit. This is, you can see how fine this soldering is. This is done by a machine usually, okay? This is not done by a human being. And the machines can do it all day long because they're machines. When we do something like this, you understand that the best scenario, which is when you got it brand new and it was just like as strong as it could be, you broke it. So breaking it after I do my part, it's not unheard of. That's part of it. Don't break it. Don't know what to tell you. My advice would be permanently fix your antenna on here, and that way you're not constantly removing anything. But getting a bad wreck, put too much flex on this, boom. Now, prior to this will be the first time that I use the silicone instead of hot glue, okay? Whoops. God darn, this stuff is messy. I mean messy, but super strong, okay? And definitely heat resistant to much higher temperature than hot glue. And it's also nasty and messy, and it just totally tears up my soldering pattern. Hey, we got the UFL connected on the first run. That's pretty good. I'll say I'm very happy with that because I'm not always that lucky, which is why I always have extra UFLs. Okay, now we have to do two things. First thing we have to do is we've got to cut, well, not the first thing, actually, but what we need to do at some point is we've got to cut this wire, this excess wire, right? Because it's going to be hitting over here and then it's a moot point. We've got it soldered, but now we got to make sure it doesn't come off. And this is where we're going to use this. Now the problem is this stuff gets so nasty, and I've not used it to try to get such a fine point. So let me see if I've got any way to apply this. And I really don't, this sucks. That I can't apply right now, but I mean that I don't have a way to do it without a syringe. I really would rather have a syringe. I'm trying to think if I have one. Let me see if I have a syringe with a sharp needle. You know what? I might. I'll be right back, guys. Give me 1 second. I think I have a syringe and I may be able to do that. So just bear with me 1 sec, please. I'll be right back. Sorry guys, I'm gonna give it a shot. Here we go. May work, it may not. But this is for my medicine, so here we go. So I've got us a little syringe right here. Okay, I don't know if you can see it there. What I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to get some of this silicone. You know what? Here, I'll do it like this. You can watch me totally screw this up. So I can give you a better view of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna squeeze this silicone into the syringe here. Just like this. Who the heck? Oh, it's the mail. My dog's gonna start barking in a second. I apologize. Mailman's here, and I don't think they like the mailman. They may work. I don't know. Okay. So far, they're quiet. So, and here's the little tip I'm gonna try to use here. I think this should fit in here. God, I hope so. And it does. This might actually be pretty cool. Okay. Hey, this is pretty neat. All right, well, let's see if this works, okay? Sneak. Just kidding. All right, here we go. Hold on. 1, 2, there we go. Let's do it like that. I hope this works, man. This would be a really neat way to start using this. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do here, I'm going to try to apply this just like that. Oh my God, that is like amazing. Okay, so I want to tell you right now, we need to get a bunch of these BD syringes because that made it the best way to apply this. I've never, holy moly. That's awesome. So that should help me not make a mess in the future. And look at that, it's just clean. I mean, this is perfectly clean. All right, so here's what we're gonna do now. Now that this is done, we're gonna let this, I'm going to actually, let me just try to take the piece around this edge off just to keep it a little bit clean. There we go. Silicone's cool to work with like that. You can just kind of scrape it. So here it goes. I'm just gonna, I want to take just a little bit more off of here. Okay. Where is my rag nose? Okay. Let's try a little bit more. Excellent. There we go. Now, when this dries, all right, I'm going to cut this wire, but not until it dries, because I don't want it to risk moving anything else. And I'm going to tell you right now that that is by far the cleanest. And you know what? I just don't see any reason why we don't do this also. So bear with me a second, because now that we have this being able to put so fine, let's just go ahead and surround the rest of the UFL. No harm in doing that. It's actually going to improve the strain. Let's go ahead and do that just like that. Perfect. This is going to be phenomenal. There we go. So we'll reinforce that while making sure that we leave the outer perimeter open. So I'm just going to take this little needle and I'm just going to run it on the outside perimeter and make sure that I leave enough so that the antenna can snap on without any issue. There we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Man, I cannot, I am so excited right now about this. Yep, there we go. All right, so what we're gonna do now is, like I said, we're going to wait for this to dry, and then I will simply get in here and take this piece and just kind of clear this silicone back. There we go. Just going to get it back away from the, right there. I just want to get it away from the copper here, the where the screw is going to go in. That way I can get to the wire and cut it back all the way. So we just, look at that, perfect. Okay, so I've got, right there's where I'm cutting. I have some very sharp cutters, so that won't be a problem. with a very fine tip. There we go. So guys, there is, I'm going to leave the video, I'm going to end it here only because the rest of this is very basic. I'm just going to cut that and put it on, okay? So, but I will tell you this. Outside of walking around and getting a few things and trying to do this under the microscope, video's 40 minutes long, okay? I'm going to tell you right now that that's probably the best one I've done because of this silicone and my little testosterone just gone. Now I'm silicone. But I'm very happy with this. And again, to reiterate to all of you, the factory, the machines build this thing, right? And they put this together. They solder all the parts on. It's really cool if you ever get to watch it. And even at its best, it can break, as we've seen with so many of these. So if you ever have one and I repair it and it breaks, please understand, I don't send it back to you until I, excuse me, until I test it. But if it breaks, it breaks. I mean, it's a piece that's known to be weak. I just get it back and hope that you are able, I get it back to a point where hopefully you're able to secure something on it and not rip it off or do whatever. That's the best I can do. It's $35. I'm not making a ton of money on this. And it took me 40 minutes to get it done and do this video. That doesn't pay for the bills. So please, I do it because I enjoy it, not because I'm paying for my car with it. So whatever you do, don't come at me like, it broke and you never fix it to begin with. Piss off on that. I don't have time for that. Okay? All right, guys, that's about it. I will say this. Today was the first day of school for my kids. Unfortunately, thanks to our system, even though their school is down the street from me in my neighborhood, I wasn't able to go see them. So I would wish them the very best. Hope they had an awesome time. I'm very proud of all three of my kids, and I'm sure all of you guys that have kids who start school today or start this week or next, I'm sure you're proud of them as well. Love you guys. To my boys, love all three of you, Ashley, Landon, and Jaden. Can't wait to see you. And to the rest of you guys, as I always say, please go spend time with your family. You never know how much time you have left. Please go make the most of it, okay? You can always fly later. Outside of that, guys, God bless, be safe, and most of all, enjoy your time. Please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. Peace.